Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Easy Mini Painting with me, Christopher Ridge. So we're going to be moving on with more of the Godzilla Tokyo Clash board game, and we're going to be moving on to Megalon here. I know nothing about this character whatsoever. I also only found a few images of him online. It looks like he has been in a few titles before. The biggest thing about him are going to be his wings. But it shouldn't be too bad. It's really just going to be more a matter of patience and confidence, but we'll just take it one step at a time. So without further blubbering, why don't we just move right on and get started here. So already, pretty much right off the bat, he's already the color scheme that we kind of want. We want that sort of like earthy brown, sort of tannish color. But it is still just a little bit flat. There's not a lot of actual color variation in his base color. So we're going to add just a few highlights. We're just going to leave him completely as is, but we're going to take some tanned flesh. This, just a sort of regular, sort of darkish tan color. And we're going to just dry brush that over the whole thing. And I think that will add just a little bit of highlight to his overall sort of like skin tone. I say skin tone. I don't think skin is the right word because he's a beetle man. I don't know. Is chitin tone? Whatever. Anyway, I'm going to take a dry brush like this. Now, if you don't have an actual miniature painting dry brush, you can just take any sort of like, flat, thick chisel brush like this. That would be just fine. But I'm going to take an actual dry brush if we have that. And yeah, same that we've done for, Ghidorah and Godzilla on the previous videos. We're just going to do our simple dry brushing technique. Just get a bunch of paint onto the bristles, wipe off most of it, and then don't be afraid of it. Just feel free to go to town. Just go over the whole thing, because we are going to be doing some color variation on other parts of the miniature. But in terms of his, standard coloration, we're just going to go over the whole thing, and that will add just a little bit of color to it, and a little bit of shade variation, so to speak. As you can see, right off the bat, just a few brush strokes like that, and already we're kind of brightening him up a little bit. We're sort of bringing out those details a little bit more. So just go to town, have fun. Alright, and there you go. That adds, like I said, just a little bit of shade variety, a little bit of coloration, just a little bit more sort of to the actual miniature from the base color. And as you can see, that still retains that sort of original color scheme that Megalon really has. So I'm going to rinse off that brush completely. And then next I'm going to take out some black here. I'm just going to take out some matte black. And we're going to go over a couple of things here with that. So I'm going to start with the pincers, the big actual drill pincers that he has. And the reason why we're going to be covering these in black is because we're going to go over them with a steel color afterward. And a combination of a base coat of black and a dry brush coat of metal or steel is a really, really good way of getting, nice three-dimensional looking dynamic metal colors. Yeah, if you just go over the whole thing with a sort of just flat metallic color, or, with just a base coat of some sort of metallic color, yeah, the whole thing will just look a little bit flat. So if you just start with a base coat of black, and then you go over it with metallic, in this case we're going to be using like a steel color, then it should look a lot more dynamic. So go ahead and do the drill pincers here. You know what? Okay, I need to work out something else, because this sticky tack that I've been using, I've just been reusing it from miniature to miniature, is starting to lose its stickiness. So I'm going to figure out something else here. Okay, there we go. I think he's a little bit more securely on the base now. Okay, and I should still be able to cut him off of there later. I did use some super glue. I just put some super glue on the bottom of him there, which, maybe is going to be a little bit dangerous. A little bit of a daredevil move right there, but I think it'll be fine. I think I can just cut him off with a little X-Acto knife later. But anyway, yeah, I finished up the pincer on the right arm there. Again, you just want to do a solid color of black across the whole thing. So now I'm going to do the other pincer. Alright, there we go. So there's another black pincer right there. Okay, next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get his wings. Now, I wasn't able to find a lot of pictures just because all the pictures that I found of Megalon seem to be of his front, and I only found like one or two of his back, but it looks like he's got sort of a black and orange color scheme going for his actual wings. So we'll just apply a flat layer of black across all of his wings. Okay, there you go. So now his wings just have that nice black coloration. I'm also going to use a slightly smaller brush for the next thing that I'm going to do, because we're going to do one more thing with this black color, and that is the sort of like basically his chest, just below where his, I don't know the words for any of this stuff, but anyway, yeah, right around like where his pecs would be. You're going to go ahead and get some black on those, because it looks like he's got sort of a black and orange thing going around that region. There we go. So then that just gives him that sort of black chest, and now his black wings, and we got the black drills going there. All right. Hi, it's me from the future, about 10 minutes into the future. I forgot, after I finished all of the black spots there, to do the horn there as well. Go ahead and paint the horn on there, and then we're going to go over that with a steel color whenever we do the pincers as well, which you can see we've already done. But yeah, just wanted to say that before moving on to the next thing. So we're done with all of our black color, and then now we're gonna move on to our sort of like, you know, finishing touches, so to speak. I'm going to be taking out some plate mail metal here. You can use whatever sort of shade of, you know, steel or silver or metal or whatever kind of color that you like. But I'm going to be using that shade right here. And then we're going to be busting out the dry brush again. And we're going to be using that on the drills, on the pincers that he's got. All right, and then yeah, just go over the all of the drills, the pincers. All right, and then yeah, that's all that you need right there. Yeah, that just adds a little bit of a sort of, you know, sort of texture, if you will, to the actual pincers, so they don't just look so flat and plasticky. So that looks great. Hello, future me again. After you finish up the pincers, you know, the actual drill bits there, go ahead and use that same dry brush to go over the horn, and then you are all done with the silver dry brush. So just knock this out just like that. Really quickly, no big deal. And that's it. Just wanted to say that because I forgot to do it earlier. Okay, back to the present. I'm going to rinse off the dry brush, and then we're going to do one more thing with the metallic color, and that's that we're going to bring out his mouth just a little tiny bit. I will grab just a slightly smaller brush for that, and then just get a little bit of paint on the very tip of your brush. You don't want a whole lot. And then just go over each of those little, like, sort of layers of his mouth. Just one at a time. Just take your time. You can start with the top layers there for, you know, the top and bottom layers first. There we go, and that just adds a little bit of texture to his mouth right there. If you want, you could take a dry brush and you could probably just go up and down across that sort of like mouth area, and that'll probably give you the same effect. But yeah, I don't know, sometimes I like to do just small details with a brush like that, just for the sake of practice, if nothing else. All right, and then the last thing that we're going to move on to is the probably the more strenuous part, I would say. So I'm going to take out some lava orange. It's a nice bright orange color, and we're going to use that for his eyes, as well as the actual like details, so to speak, for the wings and his chest. Tell you what, I'll start with his eyes because that's probably going to be the simplest thing. And yeah, you'll just a little bit of brush, or you know, a little bit of paint on the tip of your brush, and just go over the eyes really, really carefully, and take your time with it. All right, now this is going to be the tricky part. Take your time with it. That's the biggest thing. Take your time with it. I'm going to take out a little tiny brush. I'm going to take out, you know, a small detail brush. Just get a little bit of paint onto the tip of your brush. You can even wet your brush down just a little bit, wet your paint down a little bit by just taking your brush, dipping it into your water like that, and that can just thin down your paint just a little tiny bit, and that might make your detail work just a little bit easier. It's sort of a subjective thing, you know, it varies from person to person, but for a lot of folks it helps. And then just go over, you can kind of see all of these little spots that stick up around his chest. Just go over those really, really delicately, really carefully. Again, take your time. That's the biggest thing here, is that you're here to have fun. You're here to do some relaxed miniature painting. You want it to be easy. You don't want to overcomplicate it, and you don't want to do anything to stress yourself out. So don't be afraid to take your time. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that you're looking for. Again, just take your time, don't stress yourself out, and just really lightly go over each of those little like high points that sort of stand out to you. Yeah, there you go. And that just sort of brings all of that out, just like that. That looks pretty cool, doesn't it? All right, there we go. Yeah, that looks great. That looks just like the kind of thing that we're looking for right there. I'll also spend just a minute here or so just letting you kind of look at it from all sides so that when you're looking at it and you're thinking, well, what specific spots am I supposed to paint right here? Hopefully this will give you some sort of actual sort of guide here. Yeah, the left side of his chest underneath the arm is a little bit tricky to get under just with the brush, but I feel like if you go about that far right there, that should be just enough. You can kind of get it a little bit more on this side, but you have to come up from the bottom kind of like this. So there you go. That's just sort of a way for me to show you really quickly which spots I would paint if it were up to me. All right, so I'm going to rinse off that brush. But then we're going to move on to the wings on the back. Now this is going to get a little bit tricky, and you know, I'm not going to lie, I'm not very confident myself with how I'm going to do this, so I'm just gonna do the wing it approach. Now the pictures that I found sort of look like there's not really a pattern, it's just sort of a series of sort of black and orange lines. So we'll just sort of do whatever pattern you like. But it looks like I would keep them mostly horizontal. You can kind of attach different layers of lines to each other, kind of like this. You can sort of see that I'm sort of attaching them like this. But just try to do them... Yeah, it's weird to describe. You want it to look organic, but you also don't want it to look too just random. You know, you don't want it to look too artificial. So you gotta... I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to describe. But just sort of do whatever patterns feel right to you. As long as you use this combination of black and orange, whatever you do, I think will be just fine. It's really just gonna... The hardest thing about this is just gonna be getting the confidence to just do it. I'm going to be honest with you. That's the biggest thing with this particular step here. So just do whatever you want, and I will bet you a nickel, whatever you come up with will be a-okay. The only thing that I would say is that when you are applying your orange stripes like this, don't work your way all the way to the center of the sort of division between his wings. Try to just leave that completely black. As you can kind of see, I'm just sort of leaving that like that. And that will just make it so that no matter what, there are going to be no line, don't have any lines going across from one wing to another. You really want to keep those wing patterns divided because they're two different wings. They're going to have patterns independent from each other. There we go. Yeah, see, I think that looks pretty cool. Again, you want to do some sort of just pattern, but like a loose pattern, don't follow it too strictly. Take a few liberties, but also don't, variate too wildly. And I think that again, like I said, the biggest thing is just the confidence, just telling yourself, I can do this, and just doing it, and just working up the courage to just say, yes, I can make it work. So just get some paint on your brush, and don't be afraid to get in there and just have some fun. There we go. Yeah, I think that looks pretty cool. Yeah. I think that looks pretty solid. Like I said, just have the confidence to just get in there and just do it, and you are good to go. And I think the last thing that I'm going to do, I don't know, I'm just going to do this. Maybe I'm taking a liberty here. I am taking a liberty here, but I don't care. I'm going to take this orange color, and I'm just going to go over these little toe talons that he has. I don't know, I just feel like maybe that'll bring that out just a little bit more. Another thing that you can kind of do is that, because now that I'm looking at this miniature, the whole color scheme still does look just a little bit flat to me. So if you really want to, you could take like a quickshade, you could take like an actual miniature brand painting shade or quickshade, you could take like some Nuln Oil or Agrax Earthshade from Citadel, or if you have the Army Painter Mega Paint set, which is what I use for all of the miniatures on this video, not sponsored, just a big fan, then you could do the Strong Tone or the Dark Tone, and you could just go over that, the whole thing, the whole miniature with it, and that might just add a little bit more shade and a little bit more shadow to your miniatures, but that's up to you. I won't do that. I will just say that that's an optional thing. I'm going to stick to my guns of the original point of this particular mini-series on this channel, and that's that I'm not going to use any shades, and I'm just going to be using nothing but regular paints and simple brushes and simple paint techniques so that any beginner can get them regardless of the supplies that you get. You can just get any sort of brand of acrylic paints that you want, and you can go to town. Like I said, I don't think that Megalon has these orange sort of toes right here, but I think that that will just add a little bit more color to the miniature overall, and I think that that will just look a little bit more complete. Just like that. Perfect. Beautiful. I love it. Okay, and then the very last thing that I'm going to do is I am going to take out some matte varnish, and I'm just going to apply that over the whole miniature. That's another thing that I would say is optional. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but it does just sort of help protect the lifespan of your paint job just a little bit more. So do it if you got it. If you don't got it, don't worry about it. It's just sort of an optional thing. And then after that, we're done. We are good to go. Alright, and there you go, everybody. That is Megalon from Godzilla Tokyo Clash. I think that he turned out okay. Looking at him on top of the actual board game tiles, it does look a little bit more naturalistic than I was afraid it was going to be. I still think that there's some room, some opportunity, what we have here, to add, you know, a shade or a quick shade or something like that. But again, that is entirely up to you. It is entirely optional, I would say. So you can do that if you want, but if you want to just leave it the way it is, I think that it will not detract from the board game itself. So there you go, everyone. If you liked the video, go ahead and throw it a like. If you want to see the last of the Godzilla Tokyo Clash board game being painted, that would be Mothra. And then I think I'm even going to make a separate video for the structures, like the building and tile pieces that come with the board game as well. I think I'll throw those in there as a bonus video as well. Then you can subscribe to the channel. I'm not going to make you do anything that you don't want to do, and I am going to thank you so much for giving me your time and watching the video. I hope that you have fun painting Megalon here as well, and I also hope that you have a wonderful rest of your evening. So we'll see you next time.